Welcome back to the Bargain Collector. I'm Justin Ramon Thinney. Come on in, kick your feet up, hit the like, and definitely hit the subscribe. So, a few videos ago, I talked about my Facebook Marketplace haul, and I had picked up, I think it was about 7 or 8 films for a total of $5. One of those films that I picked up was this one called I Love Hong Kong 2013. And I it was very interesting. I wanted to know why it was called I Love Hong Kong 2013. So I did a little bit of searching and I found out that actually this film, they've made numerous versions of them, and the way they delineate uh which film is which or indicate which film is which is by the year. So there's a 2014, a 2015, so forth and so on. But let's get into this movie. First of all, talking about technical specs, this was not a DVD. I thought it was a DVD, but in actuality, this film is a VCD, which is like a video CD. And normally those come in cases that are actually fairly similar to a CD case. They normally come in like, the standard kind of jewel case for a CD. So it was very interesting to receive it in a DVD kind of packaging when essentially it was a VCD. One other thing too is as far as the packaging, I had not seen previously DVDs that were essentially like most DVDs came with just the jewel case, and every once in a while it had a regular slip case. But as you can see at the top of this one, it's actually closed off. So it's a tab that closes it. And the way you get it out is actually like just a straight up bottom load, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know. For me, I thought it was pretty cool. But the film, I looked it up. I popped this in and started watching it. It has a lot of critical praise, mostly due to the humor, which as I have now confirmed, a lot of comedy doesn't really translate. I I had a really high hopes from reading the reviews because they spoke about how engaging the film is and how pleasant it is to watch. I'm telling you, almost every reviewer said it is a pleasant watch, or they would say, and this was on the minors, like a fewer reviewers, they would say it was an easy watch. I personally didn't find either to be true. But it could be because, as I said, humor doesn't always translate. And I know I'd heard that before, but I was seeing it in action with this specific film. I think that most likely from the region that this film was made for, or I shouldn't say region, but maybe for the demographic that it was made for, this film is hilarious, most likely. But for me, I found it to be, I dare to say it, a little bit off-putting. The film centers around the main character, and I apologize. He is not a very the way they structured the story was it 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 felt like a bunch of loosely connected skits. So there is a main character. He owns a restaurant, and his friend slash employee had an idea to start a television station. So our lead actor, or lead, I should say main character, he personally guarantees a loan for $7 million for his friend slash employee to go off and start a television studio. But that friend takes the $7 million and just books it. Now he has $7 million to just live his life. And so the bank comes calling for that money. And because our main character personally guaranteed that amount of money, he's on the hook for it. Throughout the film, what he is routinely told by everybody he comes across is that his only option is to kill himself and collect the insurance money, or allow his family to collect the insurance money, so that at least they'll have something to live off of. They would still have to pay a portion to the bank, of course, to to satisfy the debt, but that whatever's left over, they will be able to live with. His employees are all looking to him for money, and the stress is just compounding. There's loan sharks that are coming after him because the way he was able to open his business was to borrow money from these loan sharks. He falls into a sense of despair. He stands on a ledge on top of some building, and he's contemplating jumping off when his, I guess, guardian angel, which is this Asian guy with an afro, shows up and basically says, hey, here's a look at your life and all the reasons you have not to jump off. Okay. So the premise sounds like a very interesting premise. And to be honest, it is. However, the execution is just, like I said, it comes off as a bunch of loosely connected skits, and none of them are funny. The main character, I am not certain if he is supposed to, if he's making fun of androgynous people or trans people, or so. I don't know, because nobody else looks like this, and he looks very, it almost looks like he's parodying an androgynous person or a trans person. I don't know, but his wife routinely says my husband, she loves her husband. I don't know. It was just very weird, because I would have, unless they told me this was his wife, I never would have thought this was his wife. And like I said, it just seems like they're parodying a androgynous person or a trans person or something. I don't know. It just was very off-putting. And it seemed like he was in a different movie. And also, then there's it's supposed to be his granddaughter who works in the restaurant, and she's walking around in blackface. Blackface. However, I I didn't know what to I mean, I do know what I felt about it. I didn't know what I should feel about it, because again, I don't understand the comedy of this film. So I don't understand if they're trying to make some sort of observation, or if it's a satirical look at something, if it's supposed to be straight up making fun of something. Like, I did not understand it. So I had to look it up and find out if there was any controversy regarding the blackface in this film. And yes, there was. Apparently, it was a very small group of people. As a matter of fact, okay, this film is I Love Hong Kong. It's meant for Chinese audiences. People who saw the film in China, nobody complained about the blackface. Nobody. It was only when the film made it to the US and people in the US watched the film that there was this outpour of like, what the heck is going on with this lady wearing blackface? And so then the filmmakers or somebody who represented the company came out and said, well, it's not really meant to be blackface. It's meant to be brownface, because they were essentially kind of making fun of Southeast Asians who are kind of like the housekeepers and fulfilling jobs of that nature. I was like, that's not better. That's not a that doesn't make it any better. I um very ill-advised. And okay, another thing. There's a scene where we're doing the flashback of his life and all this good stuff. And they're sitting in a restaurant. It's the guy who is his friend, who is also kind of a guy who's always running from gangsters and loan sharks and everything because he's always taking money and trying to run. Well, now they're sitting in a restaurant, our main character and that friend / employee, but when they're younger. And as they're eating their dinner, there's like kind of like this earthquake, like this. And the camera cuts to a woman's shoe, like her feet, as she's walking up the stairs. And it's just like it's an earthquake because she's walking, right? And she enters the scene, and immediately the guy is trying to look away from her, like, don't look at me, because she thought he was attractive and was staring at him. And so she comes over to talk to him, and he's like, get away from me, fatty. And I was like, wait a minute, time out. Not because he called her fat, okay? Not just because of that, but because she wasn't fat. Now, I do know that historically, the opinion is that most people of Chinese descent are rather thin, okay? And I know in that culture, like there's a lot of attention paid to that. But this woman, I'm going to insert a picture. Where can I insert the picture? Over here. Okay. Cause I want to do this to make sure that I pull up a picture of this actress who they are portraying as this very rotund woman who is causing the earth to shake when she walks. He called her fat, or, like, get away from me, fat, whatever. And then another woman shows up, and she's extremely gorgeous. And we end up finding out that ends up becoming the main character's wife in the future. But here, she shows up behind this woman as if this woman was so big you couldn't even see the people behind her. And she tells her, come on, fatty, come on over here, let's sit down. They literally named her Fatty. Her name is Fatty Chu. There's so many things wrong with this, and I'm not a guy who's super sensitive with very thin skin. It's just that there's nothing about this that's funny, and it comes off kind of as mean spirited. And I could be wrong. If you are someone who has seen this film and you really, really you disagree and would like to have a conversation, I'd love to have a conversation with you about this film. You can jump right down in the comments. I'd love to talk with you about it. But I just, at every turn in this film, I was hit with something that I was just like, I mean, I could understand if it was funny. I could understand if it was funny, then I would just laugh it off and say, oh, that was in such bad taste. But shit, I laughed. Oh, I shouldn't be laughing at that. That's actually sometimes a very good feeling to have. Like, oh, I should not find any of this funny, but I do. No, this was not the case. It was just more groaning after more groan. I was just like, geez, come on. It wasn't even low hanging fruit because none of it was real. The lady was not fat. As a matter of fact, she was gorgeous. The girl with the black face, this guy who's, I don't know if he's making fun of, like I said, androgynous people, or if that's his real look. If that's his real look, okay, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have made fun of you. But if that's not your look, because I tried to look up the guy and I couldn't find any pictures of him, so I don't know how he came to be. He must be really famous in China, but not famous here in the US or anywhere else, because there's not, on IMDb, there's no pictures of him, and online I wasn't able to find anything. But overall, the plot was interesting. Everything else was not. It just wasn't. I take that back. The woman that played his wife in present day, excellent, excellent. The young lady that played his soon-to-be wife in the past, even better. She was even better than the current wife in terms of her acting. And both of them were gorgeous, okay? And both of them were so talented, and I believed every second of their acting. The girl that they made play Fatty Chu, she funny. Oh my God, funny. Now I will say this. It doesn't redeem the film. It doesn't redeem the film. But what I will say is there's a scene where she orders dumplings and she's trying to eat them seductively in front of the guy that she likes, but they're extremely hot. But yet she's hungry and she needs to eat and try to be seductive at the same time. That was funny. That one bit in that one skit that's loosely connected to the film, that was funny. I don't know if that is worth watching the whole movie for, but that was funny. Outside of that, and one more scene that the woman, the character Fatty Chu, some gangsters show up for the guy who never pays his debts, and they have huge firecrackers, and they light them and toss them in the guy's pants, and of course it's going to go off at some point and blow his genitals apart. And so she drops down to her knees in this alley trying to take off his pants and blow out the firecracker. Now, I don't know why that was the thing to do instead of just taking them out and throwing them somewhere, but she decides she's going to blow out the spark. And so she's literally going, but in front of him, and he's doing, oh my God, like this. And then people are walking in the alley, and it's her father. Her father walks in the alley to see her doing this, and it looks, well, you know what it looks like. Those are the only two moments in this entire film that were actually funny. And it was, yes, it was situational. Everything in the movie was situational, but those two moments were the only moments that I thought were acted perfectly. And she made it funny. She made it hysterical. But outside those moments, there was nothing. As a matter of fact, I didn't even finish the movie. I stopped it. I forget where I stopped it. But I made it about maybe 45 minutes to an hour into the movie, but it just became way too painful. So, I love Hong Kong. We don't even need to pretend. Presentation wise, I mean, it's a VCD, so it's not even a DVD. In case you don't know, VCDs are lower resolution than a DVD. I want to say by almost half. Like it's way less sharp. However, I will say the colors were on point. But the sharpness was way off. It was so off that it makes it look like it has a moire effect over everything, kind of. But, and really, really, really soft. But color-wise, the color wasn't bad. Was it enjoyable? No. I'm not even, come on. Would I rewatch it? Hell, I didn't even watch it the first time. But, if you are a person who loves Chinese films about the Chinese New Year, this may be for you. I've heard that this film is the perfect example of what you watch for the Chinese New Year, and that it's supposed to be very, very funny. Like I said, maybe funny just doesn't travel well. But if that all sounds very interesting to you, this movie will be on my next Subscriber Saturday, up for grabs. Put down in the comments that you want it. You could even comment on this video, because maybe, you watch this video, but you don't catch the Subscriber Sunday. So go ahead and put it in this video if this is something you want. once we hit 100 subscribers, this film could be yours. Okay? But it won't be mine. So, yeah, that was not a good watch for me. And I'm not, normally I would, try to find the bright side in it, but the bright side in it was just those two scenes that I told you about. So, that being said, I will catch you next time for my next review. Keep finding good films at great prices.